Everyone. Welcome to the course Engaging with the Startups to Drive Corporate Innovation. This is lecture one, and my name is Dr. Puriya Darni Hamedani, and I'm going to teach this course to you. So let me first introduce myself. I'm an entrepreneurship assistant professor in the Netherlands at Utrecht University. And I'm passionate about the startups. I read the news, I do research on them, and perhaps one day I start my own business. So let's first go through the course outline. We first talk about the motivations for corporate engagement with the startups. So these days we see a surge of interests from the corporate world to work with the startups. They define all kinds of collaborations and invest in entrepreneurs. So let's see why this is the case nowadays. Then we talk about the requirements for engagement from both corporate and entrepreneur side. So that's important to keep in mind. And then we talk about the classical models of engagement. So what has been done in the past. So let's say 20 years ago or something, what have been the classical models of corporate engagement. Then we talk about new models, so models that have been developed in the last, let's say, 10 years to engage with the startups from large corporations like SAP, Microsoft, Google. Then we talk about, so in each of these models, basically, we talk about pros and cons of the models and how they work for both sides, for corporations and for startups. Afterwards, we talk about the future trends and how startups and corporations should develop capabilities in order to take the best out of, let's say, such engagement. Then we conclude the course with some takeaways. So let's now talk about the trends. There have been some recent trends that basically reinforce corporate engagement with startups. So I will name a few of these trends. So one of them is that exponential technological growth within industries are much faster sometimes than the realization of corporations. So if you think about very dynamic, hyper-competitive industries like digital industries, platforms, you see that technologies are growing fast, and you witness new business models every day. So for corporations, it's a bit difficult sometimes to realize all these changes. So they feel that they need to move faster, and in order not to be left behind, they need to move much faster than they do now. So and of course it's a bit in contrast with their nature, because large firms usually take some time for them to decide and to invest and really try to harness the technology. So yeah, that's sometimes difficult for them. So I brought a quote from a recent, let's say, report from Deloitte, the US, which shows basically it's an indication why companies need to collaborate with startups. So I read the quote. Thanks to cloud-based flexible models, companies can leverage the investments and expertise of the world's biggest technology companies and savviest startups. So it basically refers to cloud computing and technologies, and showing that, arguing that companies need to collaborate with other startups, with other entrepreneurs, in order to gain the best and understand from cloud-based technologies. But there are also other trends that basically help to foster corporate startup collaboration. So we know that in the past, So let's say in 50s and 60s, government labs were the main drivers of R&D activities. And afterwards, let's say in 70s, 80s, 90s, corporations were the hotbed of R&D investment. So if you look at companies like Xerox, IBM, they were the main R&D spenders, and many new technologies were developed there. But in the last 15, 20 years, the R&D activities have been shifted to some extent to SMEs, small and medium enterprises, and they are the hotbeds for innovation. So this recent trend has been noticed by large corporations, and in order for them not to fall behind, they started to look at small and medium enterprises with more interest. So we now see that a number of successful technology startups and scale-ups basically come up with new ideas with the use of, let's say, the lean startup methods, new products, new prototypes much faster than corporations. Other trends, we have exponential growth of venture capital firms. So for example, in China, we have now 12 times more, well, actually in 2012, 12 times more investment in venture capital firms than just 7 years earlier. So you see that VC firms have grown exponentially throughout the world, and this shows that there are many opportunities within the world of startups and entrepreneurs. There are also other support services, other players in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, like incubators and accelerators, and also universities that help the growth of, let's say, startups and innovation within a startup. So these all are important aspects showing that entrepreneurs are now, let's say, the hotbeds of innovation, and corporations also realize that. Yeah, this graph also shows that, for example, the venture financing has grown substantially throughout the world, and yeah, so again, another piece of evidence showing that startups are really producing growth opportunities, and of course, corporations, large established corporations, want to basically gain advantage of such opportunities. So this was the first lecture of the course, and I hope you enjoy it. In the future, we will talk about the requirements, various models of engagements, their pros and cons, future trends, capabilities that should be developed. Yeah, so see you soon.